All right. Today we are going to go over a Chrome extension that we've built called Highlighter and a few use cases for it. We'll start off just showing you how to install it. It's not currently published to the Chrome store, so you got to do it the old-fashioned way, which is go to the repo, grab the clone address, git clone highlighter. I'm going to drop this into a new project called Highlighter Stable because I already have an experimental one I'll show you later. We go into there and then we run npm install. Once that goes, then we just run npm run build. There we go. And now we should be able to go into our extensions, manage extensions. So this will work in any Chromium browser, Chrome, Edge, Brave, Arc, whatever runs on Chrome. The key here is you're going to want to grab load unpacked. And then we find our project file. You're going to want to grab the directory that has this manifest.json file in it. So that's the directory we're looking for. And we've got our highlighter extension. And we can run over here. I like to pin mine, but you certainly don't have to. And open it. And we're running. One thing I have noticed is it's always good when you install a fresh extension to give your browser a hard refresh. We'll just do that now. Cool. What this does is this will go through and visually highlight by adding a class, a CSS class to it, any element that matches the class names that you put in, and this includes fuzzy searching. So if we do just like GL dash and then a star to indicate that this is a prefix we want to search for, and then hit enter, it's going to highlight everything because everything has a class that starts with GL. But where we found this to be super useful is if we're going through and, for example, I'm doing a lot of work on links right now, and so we can just go GL link, and there's everything on the page that uses a link. Jeremy in the notes, I've in the notes here, ba-da-ba-ba. This link here to Jeremy's walkthrough of how he uses it is phenomenal. He pairs it with a few other things that I think are really helpful for, especially when folks are gonna start tackling some dark mode implementation. Definitely take a look at that. But this is essentially just how the current iteration of the stable iteration of Highlighter works. But I wanted to give you a little sneak peek of what I've been working on that is in a very somewhat broken state, but I think we're good enough to start doing it. This includes a lot more granularity of searching, and it also includes the ability to search for different elements and use like and or operators in your search terms. Eventually, I hope to be able to search by CSS custom properties that exist on something, but I don't have that working quite yet. Close. We'll see. So currently, let's look for if an element is a button and it has a class type of GL-button. Can add that rule or add that term to our search rule and then add that entire rule. Oh, I broke my rule. I didn't hard refresh. There it is. So now what we're seeing on the page is highlighted all of the buttons that have the class of GL button. But what's really fun is we can invert this. So if we start a new rule here and we go an element is, or yeah, is a button. And then we go class is not GL button. Boom. And now we can see everything on the page that is a literal button element, like the HTML element of button, but does not have the class of GL button. And so this I found when looking through things, and let's use, actually, I think links is a better example. So let's do that. So this is an anchor and the class is not GL link. Add the term there. Let's add the rule. There you go. So this has been one of the most helpful things is being able to just poke around on these really kind of broad elements that are everywhere and kind of nitty gritty drill down into, okay, what is using these things, what is not using these things. And then you can just imagine too, if we can also highlight specific CSS custom properties, and we could be able to say, okay, what is an anchor tag that's not using this class, or what's an anchor tag that has these custom properties, and that kind of thing. So that's essentially what I have been working on, and I'm really excited to see how people use it and how helpful it is, and we'll keep iterating from here. So if anyone has any ideas of what else this could be looking for that would be helpful to you, I'd love to hear it. And as you can tell, the UX of the plugin has been a bit of an afterthought as I worked on the logic. So we'll work on that too. But that's basically it for me at this point.
So we have a lot of time left, so I want to use this as an opportunity to talk a bit about dark mode. And I know Chris and Dan are also on the call with a lot of designers here. So it'd be great to kind of communicate what the ask is of designers for dark mode, how they might be using the highlighter, if that's the goal. And yeah, I would love to just hear more about what we want from the design team when we roll out dark mode. And I don't know if that's a question for Ian or Chris or Dan or all three of you, but
I'll
I would
let
love to hear more.
I'll let Chris fill in, but as far as I understand it, the highlighter here is a tool to be used to roll out dark mode. It's not like the one thing. It's just something we kind of whipped up in a after a meeting, going, boy, wouldn't it be nice if we could look at the page and see what's using this and what's not using this.
Yeah, I think one of the challenges we've had is identifying the elements that are not using design tokens. And this is a tool that Ian helped us make to highlight the elements that are not using design tokens. Um, we previously, before this, what we were doing was literally inspecting the code, going through, looking for specific classes and class names, and trying to point out, okay, this is maybe a pajamas button, but it's got some overriding classes on it. And so then that led to this idea to just visually inspect what is or is not using tokens. And that's actually what Jeremy's walkthrough video that Ian has linked shows. It helps highlight things that may sort of visually look good or correct in dark mode, but are not using the appropriate classes. And if they're not using the appropriate classes, or if they're not using the design tokens, then that just makes it more fragile whenever there are changes that come down the road. Um, Ian, I'm not sure, would you be able to show sort of walk through how Jeremy was using this to highlight tokens or things that are not using tokens? Or are
Um,
there a few more steps in there that you'd need to
yes,
do?
but I'd have to install Arc because he
Ah,
uses an Arc boost in his thing. Um, but yeah, the video does a wonderful job of it.
okay. So one of the challenges right now, if you turn on dark mode, it actually looks great right now. Everything appears to be inverted. There are no problems, but that is because we are still using an algorithmic inversion where we are automatically turning the light mode colors into dark mode. That's sort of the old version of dark mode, and it kind of works, but it's not actually designed. And so a lot of the big work with dark mode that we're doing is turning away from that algorithmic inversion into something where we are specifically choosing the colors for dark mode. And so the highlighter, what that does, it'll highlight the areas that are still using this old algorithmic inversion and don't have the design tokens applied. And so I think in an upcoming I think probably in the upcoming milestone, we'll have some documentation written showing you all how you can use this highlighter plugin to review your areas and call out places where we're just not using the appropriate design tokens. And sort of that'll make it so that you can potentially go in there and make small changes yourself, or at least kind of get a sense of like the scope of the problem without us having to go in to every page one by one as the design systems team.
Thanks, Chris. That's super helpful overview. And Dan, I know you have read-onlys, but they're so good. Would you mind vocalizing them?
Because you asked so nicely, of course. See, I put a link to the thing that Ian was alluding to that makes things that aren't using design tokens pink. In Arc, you can turn it on and leave it on, and in non-Arc, you have to paste it into your console every time. So have some fun with that. I quite like it, and it's been sad to watch things that once were pink no longer be pink. And if you want a sneak peek of what's coming up, I've shared a link to the process that we are working. We're trying to. It's currently work in progress. We're piloting it with a couple of teams, but we think it's going to look something like that. I will be asking teams to work through with their groups and with the design system team to make sure dark mode works in their product areas.
What's the sort of timing that people should anticipate for helping out with the rollout?
Soon, TM.
Like in the January? I try and give people a heads up here.
So some teams are working through it right now. Some teams, I believe, have already been pinged for the milestone that starts next week. So if you haven't been pinged, if you don't know who you are already, then it's likely to be January.
Thanks, Dan. Awesome. Thanks all for answering all my questions, and Ian for letting me jump in here and talk about dark mode a bit.
Yeah, thank you. That was great to cover.
Well, awesome. Thanks, Ian, for sharing. Are there any other questions before I stop the recording? I'll take that as a no.